talk to you about this week's blog, I want to just remind you that we've launched a podcast. We launched last week. It's called Remove the Guesswork, Health, Fitness and Wellbeing for Busy Professionals. We're running a competition. What we're after is to get as many subscribers and rating and reviews as we can to help raise the profile of the podcast on iTunes. So we're offering you a free version of our Bodyshot Performance Lite product, which is worth £399. And all you need to do to be entered into the draw for this is to jump onto iTunes, look up Remove the Guesswork, click on the artwork and leave us a rating and a review, and subscribe to the podcast, download some episodes and have a listen and let us know what you think as well. And then send us a copy of that review to info@bodyshotperformance.com and we'll enter you into the prize draw, which will be announced on Wednesday 6th of September. So good luck if you're applying. Thank you in advance for your feedback and of course for listening to the podcast. So this week's blog is called Less is More, 5 ways that you can make the most of your exercise in just 30 minutes. Now this one was a really easy one to write because, to be honest, one of our core principles is doing less and getting more, that you don't need to spend a lot of time exercising in order to get results. So this one was pretty easy to write. Hopefully it'll be pretty easy to follow as well. So number 1 is Tabata or HIIT. So Tabata is a 4-minute workout, 20 seconds of exercise, 10 seconds rest, and that cycles through 8 times. That's your 4 minutes. So for example, you might pick squats or burpees. Go very, very fast but controlled into that exercise for 20 seconds, rest for 10 seconds, back in for 20, rest for 10. You could do 3 of those Tabata sequences and then top and tail it with a warm up and a cool down, and you would feel worked out. That's a really great way to get the heart rate up, to get the blood moving, and you will be tired at the end of that if you've done the Tabata properly. So a suggestion might be a star jumps Tabata, then a burpees Tabata, then a squats Tabata. You could also do something like 10 push-ups in between your Tabata sequence. That would be another way of doing it. So that's number 1, Tabata and HIIT. Number 2 is interval training. So a good way to do this is when you're running. Pick a point that's maybe 100 metres or 100 yards up ahead of you. Run as fast as you can towards that point. Walk back. So you've got full recovery by the time you get back. Again, run as fast as you can, walk back, and perhaps you do 10 of those. So maybe you run for a mile, you do 10 running intervals, then you run your mile back home. That's less than 30 minutes and you get a lot of bang for buck there. And with the Tabata and with the intervals, what you're doing is getting your post-exercise metabolic rate up as well. So as well as the quick hit of heart rate and the frenetic activity and all the benefits that brings, you'll be burning an increased amount of calories after the session for longer when you do something like HIIT or Tabata or intervals. The third thing that you can try is lifting heavy. So you don't need to lift for more than 15-20 minutes, but you're lifting heavy stuff. Now for those of you who've done the DNA test, you'll know if your profile is power or endurance, and if it's strongly towards power, you're going to respond well to this. But irrespective, we should all be lifting heavy at least twice a week. So you don't need weights or kettlebells for that. You can just pick a heavy sack of potatoes, small child, anything really. Just lift them up, move around with them or the object, and just lift heavy for about 15 minutes. Particularly if you're over 40, because once you get, and particularly if you're female actually, but once you get into 40s, 50s, 60s, the body essentially is declining. And for postmenopausal women, you're no longer producing as much estrogen. So you definitely need, for your bone health, to lift heavy weights. So you may as well start now, irrespective of your age, and go out and lift something heavy. The fourth one is more about your attitude going into this stuff. If you've only got 30 minutes, be really present when you're exercising. Think, I'm going in to work these muscle groups, or I'm going in to run this distance, or I'm going to lift this weight, and then be present while you do it. Don't get distracted, don't let your mind run away, or distracted if you're in a gym with TV screens and what's going on around you. Focus fully on the exercise, make the most of that time you're investing. And the final one, number 5, is all about intersections. So for many of you, exercise isn't your life's dream, but you do it because you understand you have to. And that's great. It's great that you're doing it. But try intersecting it with something you really love. So for example, I love podcasts. I love listening to them. I've always got my Bose headphones on. I've rarely seen without them. So I would combine a walk, which I also love, with listening to a podcast. But I'll also combine a run on days when I don't fancy it with listening to some content or listening to some music. If you enjoy cycling as an example, and you also like family time, intersect the two. So you're getting the maximum for your time you possibly can. Those combined things I think are going to be really helpful. So that's HIIT or Tabata, that's running intervals, lifting heavy, focusing and being present while you're doing all of that. And then think about how you can intersect exercise with other things that you love to make the most of your time. As ever, if you've got questions or comments or you want our help, you can reach us at info@bodyshotperformance.com. The website, bodyshotperformance.com/resources, and you'll get literally hundreds of blog posts there, all about health, fitness, nutrition and well-being. And a quick reminder as well for the podcast, remove the guesswork, health, fitness and well-being for busy professionals. That's it from me. I'll see you next week on the blog.